Morning. Now don't be afraid just because I brought this down. This shouldn't be any longer than normal. To any of our visitors and guests, welcome to Immaculate Heart of Mary. I'm Father Tom Miller, the pastor. Delighted to have you pray with us. To all of our parishioners, always good to come together and pray with you. And I may say this often because I hope it's true for you and I, that this is the most important hour in our week as we come to celebrate Jesus Christ, who's reconciled us to God our Father and one another. So I have a question to begin with for all of you. So you're going to have to raise your hand, so don't be bashful. How many of you have ever bought a lottery ticket or a scratch-off or something like that? Just a lot of us. Okay? My father used to faithfully buy lottery tickets back when it was only Illinois, when they first started, back in the 70s. He'd bring his money down to work, and the guys would all get it together, and one of them would go over to Illinois and buy the lottery tickets, and then everybody realized, of course, hey, this is easy money for the state to make, and now they're all over the place. So we buy lottery tickets, and you have probably said the same thing that I've said. I don't buy them regularly, but every now and again. We believe that a little more money would make our lives easier, and that's probably true. We also believe that if we had a lot more money, we could do a lot of good, because we tell ourselves that. You know, if I wouldn't have been Powerball, think of the things I could do. Family members I could help, the church, different organizations that I care for, all probably true statements. Not bad statements. But the thought is, underneath all of that the greater problem in our life is lack of funds. If we only had a little bit more, things would be better. And if we had a lot more, we could do good things. We don't want to be greedy. We hear the gospel talking about greed. We don't want to be Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or Sam Walton or somebody like that. I mean, those greedy people got so much money. We just want enough to do more. And the gospel challenges us today, because ever since money has been around, it got invented in Asia Minor a number of millennia ago. Ever since money's been created, every person has ever thought a little bit more would help, because it usually does. We also know that it comes with a lot of problems. But you and I as moderns, it's not bad enough that we are tempted to trust in money, because that's really what it is, a trust we place in wealth to fix things in our life. We've got a double whammy that no generation preceding us has had to deal with, or time. You and I believe that science and technology can fix things, almost anything. 200 years ago, they didn't worry about that. I mean, they just didn't have that type of technology. Science was doing things, but as far as changing human life, not profoundly. But we believe as moderns that technology is always going to get better, and that it is going to solve the problems of human life. In many ways, it has. I mean, technology, I'm not knocking it, it's a good thing. But both wealth and technology, or science, let's kind of use those terms interchangeably, don't end the challenges or the trials or the hardships of life. They may make some things easier, but they don't end them. But there's a temptation we have to use those as our false idols, unknowingly, because those are the things that make us anxious, or those are the things that make us hopeful, when we are supposed to place our faith and hope in God. And you're here today doing that. We're placing our faith and hope in God. And the gospel does not knock wealth or even science or technology. It wants to put those things in its proper place. But we get to that first reading from Ecclesiastes. Let me open that up real quick. And vanity of vanities, says Koheleth. Vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. What does he mean by that? He doesn't mean vanity in terms of being fixated on yourself. You know, when we talk about people being vain, we think of somebody priming themselves in the mirror. He's not talking about that. He's saying life is pointless. It's in vain. No meaning to it. Vain. Pointless. And he struggles with that because he's looking for what is the meaning of life? What is this time that we have here on earth all about? And Kohelet has been searching. He's tried wealth, still doesn't solve everything. He's tried popularity. He's tried success. He's tried power. He's tried pleasure. And the resounding thing he has found is that all those things are limited. All of them end. They don't last. They might be good in the short run, but they don't last. And so he asks himself, what is the point of our life? What are our days about? You know, he says one of the things that really made the people in the Old Testament kind of get upset. Let's say Bob here is really successful, makes gazillions of dollars, and right at the time he gets ready to spend it all and live a good life, he drops over dead. And then let's say he has a son who's a total louse. He gets to live off of it. The Old Testament used to be really frustrated about that. Why would somebody who did nothing to earn it profit from somebody else's hard work and labor? It's one of the things that they found vexing, is the word they always use. Kohelet struggles with that. He even mentions it there at the end of his letter. But he does come to an answer at the end. And that's what faith is about. Faith brings meaning to our life. Faith brings a goal that we are striving for and in a direction in which we are to walk. Because money is not bad, it's not the cure, it's not the fix. Faith in Jesus Christ is the fix. And we have Jesus talking in the gospel. Somebody in the crowd yelling out to him, "Tell my brother, give me my share of the inheritance." We all know this, let's be honest. Let's say one of us won the lottery. You would quickly find out how much that strained your family relationships. There would be family members who would call you greedy because you didn't share enough. Not even that you shared a little, that you didn't share enough. Even though they didn't buy the ticket or they didn't get lucky, you did. And here we have somebody asking Jesus, "Hey, my brother's getting all the inheritance, nothing for me." Well, tough rocks, that's the way it goes in the ancient world. Number one son gets it all. Number two only gets something if the father's generous. Usually goes to the firstborn. They're the ones that matter. Extra ones are not so significant. And Jesus reminds the gentleman in the crowd and you I that life is not about wealth. It's a good thing. And again, Jesus doesn't have a bias against wealth because there are many wealthy people who followed him and provided for he and his apostles. But he really wants to go after the temptation that you and I have to believe that that can fix all of our problems. And we're here today, and hopefully Sunday after Sunday, because we know that life is not about everything that is here. Our life is meaningful, but it is all in preparation for eternity. And those are the things that we should really be pursuing. Because there will be a day when we face Jesus as our judge and arbiter. That's kind of the irony of that little line in the gospel. Who made me your judge and arbiter? Oh, God the Father did. And we all get to find that out at the end of our lives. And we want to use the things of this world in such a way that it prepares us for the next. And if we are blessed, and we are, we live in exceptional times, we live in an exceptional nation, we have been blessed tremendously. We want to use those blessings accordingly. In service to God, and helping those who are poor or needy, and responding in whatever way the Holy Spirit is calling you and I to respond. And it varies from individual to individual. But what we have to ask the Lord to help us overcome is this fear that in the moment of trial, you will not have enough. And the answer is yes, you won't. Neither will I. In the moment of trial, you and I will not have enough. The only way we will have enough is by turning to God. Then he will suffice. Doesn't mean he'll make it easy. Doesn't mean he will even deliver you from the trial, although we pray for that all the time, I do. But he will suffice. We want to believe that. And we want to celebrate that and pray for it constantly, especially if right now my life is going really good, and I hope yours is. I know one day it won't be. I know that's a given. It's not a maybe, it's a given. And I pray today that the Lord deepen and strengthen my faith and your faith for that moment. Then I can really trust God. Then I can know that even though I'm in the trial, he has always been faithful prior to that. He has always been generous to me prior to that. And that no matter what happens in this life, there is a bigger picture that you and I are part of in the next. If we can keep our eyes focused on that, we won't be afraid, or at least overcome by fear. We may feel fear at first, but it won't own us because we'll turn to God. And that's what Jesus is inviting. That poor man at the end of the gospel in the parable, he's stocked up everything. He's good to go. He even gives that eat, drink, rest, and be merry. He's got the good life, and he's missed sight of what comes next. And what comes next is judgment and eternity. Eternity with God or eternity without God. Eternity with God is the fullness of his life, his joy, his love, his truth. Eternity without God is vain, is pointless, is more empty than anything we can ever imagine. C.S. Lewis, I don't have the quote here because I forgot to put it on the chair. I was going to read it at the end, but there's a wonderful quote I used it a year or two ago at the end of a homily to remind us that the people seated next to you are part of eternity. They'll be in the next life. All the other things, everything else we get all concerned about in this life, stays here. Things that we think are so significant and monumental and own our feelings and our attitudes, they all pass. You and I don't. And we want to have that awareness because it will change the way we love and respect one another. It will change the way we respond to one another and our need. And it will give us the confidence that we all long for tomorrow, for whenever that trial comes, to respond with faith and confidence in Jesus Christ.